In this video, we're going to go through Learning Target 2.3.2, which is to create a linear function given 2 points. In your note packet, this is on page 21. If you don't have your note packet, you can use a notebook as well. So we're going to start with just some general steps that you can follow every time that you are doing this process. And so when we're basically just going to be asked to write our own linear functions. And linear functions can be represented by the equation y equals mx plus b. And we are used to getting the equation, but we are going to be writing our own. And so these are the steps we're going to follow. First is to find 2 points based on the information. And so we're going to be given a story problem, typically, and you're going to be able to find 2 coordinate points given that story. And our points must be written as independent variable, comma, dependent variable in order to make sense. So that's just kind of like some extra information. So we'll need to think back to our 2.3.5 explanation of what independent and dependent variables are. Our second step is then going to be to find the slope using the slope formula. And if you want to write the slope formula off to the side to remember it, you can. Then once we have our slope, we're going to then find the y-intercept using one of our original points, so one of those points that we found, and the slope that we find in step 2. So you have to do this in this specific order because you need the slope in order to do the next part. And then you're just going to plug m and b into our equation. So these are the only 2 things that should be numbers. Y and x will stay y and x. So if you want to make a little note to yourself, these are numbers. If you need to pause the video to catch up on filling those in, please do so. And we're going to go through this example together. And this kind of breaks it down step by step what you need to do. So this says a new school has opened. At year 0, the first year, there were 104 students. At year 5, there were 476 students. Assuming the school follows a linear trend each year, answer the questions below. So the first thing we need to do is we need to figure out what's the independent variable and what's the dependent variable, so we can make our points, and those points can be correctly written in the right order. So when we're thinking of independent and dependent variables, we're thinking about which one is causing the other to change, or which one depends on the other one. And so if we think about this, then as years go by, we are gaining more students. So as the school starts to be more well known, we are gaining students. So the independent variable is the year, and the dependent variable is the number of students. So the number of students depends on the year. You can also think of, like, if we added 50 more students, does that mean that we gained another year? No, that doesn't change the number of years that have gone by. Years are independent. Once you do that, then you can write your coordinate points. And all of that, all the steps from above, is all part of number 2. What linear equation can be used to represent the school population? This is telling you to write y equals mx plus b. And so we need to find m and we need to find b. So to find m, to find our slope, I'm going to kind of label my work over here. So this is all my work to find m. We need to have our 2 points, and it needs to be written as independent variable, comma, dependent. So year, comma, students. In my story, I see that this sentence goes together. So year 0, 104 students. So my first point is 0, comma, 104. And then my second point is year 5, 476. So 5, 476. So now we can use that point and use our slope formula. So we can label x1, y1, x2, y2. and plug them into our slope formula. So we have m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So now I want to simplify the top and the bottom. Calculator. Calculator, guys. So the top, we're going to do 476 minus 104. 476 minus 104. And we get 372. Over 5 minus 0 is 5. And then I want to simplify this as much as I can. So for this, 372 divided by 5 gives me 74.4. And I know we normally keep our slope as a fraction, so you could keep it as this fraction if you wanted to, or you can change it to a decimal. That's up to you. I think it's easier to understand the decimal. So that is my m. So I'm going to put this in a little cloud because I need that later. Now I need my b. And so to find b, I'm going to use my slope and one of these points. It doesn't matter which one. And I'm going to plug those in to y equals mx plus b so I can find b. So since I can choose which point I want, I'm going to choose the easier one. I'm going to choose this one because it is easier to deal with. So if I have 0, 104, that's my x and my y. And then my m is 74.4. That's what I just found. So I'm going to plug those in to y equals mx plus b. Y is 104. M is 74.4. And x is 0. We don't know b. So now I can multiply, and anything times 0 is just 0. So b is 104. Now my final step is to actually write my equation. So this is my m, this is my b, so my equation is y equals 74.4x plus 104. So this is my equation. If you need to pause it here to make sure that you are caught up with all these pieces, please do so. But the next two questions ask us to use our equation. So the only reason we want to write these equations is so we can actually solve problems and predict things about that relationship. And so this question says, after 10 years, how many students can the school expect to have? So you can imagine a scenario where we would like to plan 10 years out. How many students are we going to have? How many books are we going to need? How many tables are we going to need? Classrooms, teachers, those kinds of things. So we can use our model to predict that. What you need to figure out is X or Y the years? Because we know that this is 10 years. And the X value, I just look at like these points that I wrote and I can see like the X value represents the years. So this is X. And the Y value represents the number of students. So that's what I'm trying to find. So I'm going to plug this number in for X into my equation. So Y equals 74.4 times 10 plus 104. And I can type all that in a calculator just as it is written. So I know that the lighting's pretty bad for the calculator, but if I type that all in, I get 848. So Y equals 848. And I want to add a label. So we can expect to have 848 students in year 10. Now this last problem is kind of working backwards. So now it says if there's 1,592 students in attendance for a given year, how many years have passed since opening? So like we know how many students there are, how many years have gone by since we opened? In this case, the students is our y value, so we need to plug this number in for y. So we have 1592 equals 74.4x plus 104. And this one we need to do a little bit of solving. So I need to subtract 104 from both sides. And 1592 minus 104 is 1488. And then I need to divide. And I get 20. So I'm going to say it has been 20 years. And that's it. So all of these things we have done before. We've done the slope formula and found m. We have plugged in values to y equals mx plus b to find b. And now we need to put that all together to be able to write our own equations and then use them to solve some problems. So you can go ahead and if you feel like you could use another example, you can watch the extra help video because I know we only went through one. If you're feeling like you're ready to try it, you can do the independent practice on the next page.